Okay, so obviously Julia introduced me earlier. My name is Becki Lee. I'm the head of e-learning at the college. I think some of you have been to the event before, so what I've tried to do is put some context around it for the people that haven't been here before, without repeating it too much for the ones that have. So, just to give you a bit of history, we've been working towards cracking the right e-learning model from about 2008. And as Julia said, we've made huge progress, but we're still not there. I'd like to start by finding out who the audience is, where the audience is coming from, just so that I can make sure that I'm telling you the right bits of information. So, can I have a show of hands for the people from FE colleges? Right, so most FE colleges. And then from private training providers? Yeah, and I'm going to ask this because I only know it just through a brief conversation. We've got a governor from a college. Any other governors from a college? No? Okay. Any organisation I've not mentioned? HE. Okay. Anybody else from HE? Lovely, great. Okay, so again, before I carry on, for the FE colleges or for the HE colleges, do you have like an e-learning session as a mandatory part of the timetable? Does anybody have that here? Blended. Yeah. Do talk to me. I don't buy. Well, only a week with the kids when they're getting on my nerves. But so we've got a blended model. I mean, I don't know about you, but my history is I'm from curriculum. I'm a teacher. That's my background. I started at the college in 2006. I worked up to becoming a manager for hair and beauty. I led on the diplomas, the higher diplomas. Does anybody remember those? Yeah, very interesting times. I moved into, we had most of you probably experienced, we had a big restructure and an opportunity to become an e-learning developer came about, and so I got a secondment for 2 years, which I absolutely loved, because I think what's important for me is we don't look at e-learning or online learning or digital learning as something separate. This is just another vehicle to get information across to learners and to get them to enhance their knowledge. So I moved into e-learning, and then an opportunity came up in quality, and I moved into quality. And again, absolutely loved it because it's about auditing and monitoring and actually seeing impact of things that are being put in place. And then I came full circle and came back round to e-learning. So here I am, and I think those 3 pockets of knowledge have really given me a great understanding of what is needed. Now, at the college, we do have timetabled e-learning, or we call it iLearn. So if I refer to iLearn, I mean the sessions that learners have on timetable. We basically have, like I say, been modelling this for quite a few years. I'm just going to show you a short video just to recap the key points of our journey so far, and then I'm going to talk to you about phase 2 and the issues that we've come across. And we've had a bumpy road. I'll be really honest with you. Who in the room, if we're really honest, is struggling to get e-learning or online learning, digital learning off the ground? Yeah. I think this event is exactly for that reason. If we can't talk to each other about the issues that we're having, then we're never going to get the solutions right. So really, be honest with me. I mean, I'm talking very much, there's been some really great presentations this morning, and for technologists and people who love e-learning and people who love this, who've got that intrinsic motivation, this is brilliant. It's not rocket science, but it's brilliant. This is the way we should be going. But when you're on the ground floor trying to implement that, there's a different story. So let me just play this short video. Bear with the music. Yeah, I thought I'd put a bit of drama in there. We need lights down here, don't we? A bit of smoke. There you go, as if by magic. Okay, so that's a roundup of the journey that we've been on, and there is someone in the room, Angela, who joined us on that journey, and that will bring back quite a lot of memories for you, no doubt. But surprisingly enough, this was the question that was given to me, or the title of the presentation for the interview for this job. What will the e-learning strategy look like as we respond to the evolving landscape? Now, 3 years on, and these are the considerations that I put. 3 years on, they're exactly the same, and I'm sure you'll agree. So obviously it's about strategic intentions, and that has to form the basis of anything that we do, you know, to implement it across the college and make it part of the ethos. It has to be linked to the strategic intentions. The second one was college priorities. I think we're all in the same boat, whether you're a college, private provider, or even HE. We've got English and Maths, the apprenticeships, T-levels, all the changes. What we do has to support and enhance all of those things. So we needed to consider that. And again, I'm talking it'll be 3 years in January. Skills development. We were talking about digital skills development, staff capabilities, learner capabilities. We were talking about this 2.5, 3 years ago. Government drives, you saw some of the old ones, the FELTAG one that went to the e-tag, that I don't know where that's gone now, but you've seen all of these different papers and policies come out, and we've got to be responsive as an organisation, and also as, you know, a collective. We've got Ofsted, the recent changes, the new IF, technology, and how we use technology to enhance learning and to help learners progress is massive. It's a big thing. This week we've had an internal review with 2 Ofsted inspectors, and for the first time ever I was asked for logins for the VLE after they'd spent half an hour going through the VLE. Most supportive conversations I've ever had, and as a head of that department, I am absolutely made up that it's being put on the map, that people are considering it now as part of the learner journey and part of the development of a learner. The final one for me, and again, this was obviously I had a 10-minute presentation to do, so I had to narrow it down, but it was local priorities. And as Julie alluded to earlier, I've done a lot of work with my superb team at the back there, linking into community and how we can develop the workforce. There was a statistic put up by Becki, was it 53% of adult people
working adults.
Yeah, working adults don't have the skills that are needed in the workforce, and that is an absolutely startling statistic. And yeah, as the generations come through, that will improve, but we've got a duty of care as educators to all of the community. And so those were the key considerations. And again, it was nearly 3 years ago, and we've got to reflect on how far we've come, and we have moved it forward. Certainly in the college we have, but just need to carry on pushing on those elements. So whatever I said, it worked. I got the job, and I found myself picking up the iLearn centres and the head of e-learning role, and basically it was like being a private investigator for the first sort of 6-12 weeks. I went in, and you know, obviously I've been working in the college from a quality perspective, and I thought I understood the mechanics and the areas for improvement. But I went in and I literally peeled back layer by layer, because it's been a difficult time. The college wanted to put iLearn on the timetables, but I feel that looking back it wasn't supported properly and it wasn't embedded properly. And so that team that I came into had been struggling and banging their heads against walls trying to get things in place, okay? So I went in, and my first thing was the team. My first thing is, if you don't have your team on board, you're going nowhere. So I spent time having one-to-ones with the team. I met with curriculum teams. I met with management teams. I went round and I was speaking to people, and I was listening, and that was the key. I was listening, and I was taking, like I say, I loved it. I think I should be in CID or join what's she called, Rooney's wife with her little antics. Yeah. So basically I went in, I did focus groups, I did audits, I did a forensic examination of the budget, because that was a concern for me. I got feedback. I looked at previous SARs and QUIPs and previous development plans. I looked at learner surveys. I looked at every bit of evidence that I could find to try and get a grasp of what I needed to do going forward, or what I needed to plan for. And basically the key issues. Now I'm sure as I put these up, I'm sure I'm going to get lots of that, yeah, because I don't think we're alone in this. I think these are a lot of what everybody finds. So learner experience, as I say, ours is slightly differently because it's timetabled into their programme. They have to attend. Oh, initially they didn't have to attend. They should have done, but they didn't, which you'll see in a minute. But it's part of their journey. But the learner experience was inconsistent. It wasn't engaging. So a teacher might have put something on, but it might have been a Word document that didn't really relate to anything that they were doing in class. Quality of content, that links with that. Staff resistance. We talked about staff training and the ETF, and we've been using the ETF, and we've got some great plans for it for this year with our teams. But it's about staff's mindset. This isn't about just resistance, it's about confidence, it's about mindset, it's about time. And we've got the new IF coming out saying about reducing workload on staff. We, in this room, know if this is used correctly, it would reduce workload on staff, but actually staff just see it as another thing to do, and it's how we get over that. It's not linked to the course, so the learners, again, like I say, they'll sit down, they'll be given a task and it'll have nothing to do with what they're doing in the classroom, so the learners sat there going, what's the point? What's it for? Department structure, I think when I took over, one of the things with the structure, it didn't put the support in the right places, so the department structure needed some work. Attendance was at 24%. Now, the attendance didn't have a register. We did a paper register, but it hadn't been agreed for it to be part of the registered sessions because that would have an impact on bursary, and everybody was scared. And they had a right to be scared because it's 24%. It was staff skills. So we've got staff resistance. That's one thing that we've got, one hurdle we've got to get over. Then we've got staff skills. If somebody's resistant and they haven't got the skills, that's a big one. That's a big one. Poor feedback across the board. No, I tell a lie. We did a pilot with early years group, and actually that pilot informed the e-learning strategy launched in 2013, and because they'd got the most out of the experience and they'd engaged with it, their groups tended to give us really positive feedback, but learners from other areas, just not a great experience at all. Team morale. Team morale. They're doing a job day in, day out, trying to coach learners, and the learners are coming in going, I hate this, miss. I hate iLearn. Why am I here? What's it worth? And how frustrating, because they're trying to do a job and they're trying to help those learners develop. I sound really negative, but at the beginning it was, and I can't, it's warts and all. Budget management, I'll explain a bit more about. Performance reviews. The performance reviews needed to be linked with the SAR, and the SAR needed to really identify the clear areas for improvement. And at that point, we needed to revisit the SAR and pull those areas for improvement out. And the performance reviews sort of were generic about the things that could be controlled within the centre, but they weren't linking to the bigger issues. And then a lack of planning from teachers and coaches. So those were the key issues. And at that point, I'm thinking, going back to quality. I mean, what have I done? And we worked through it. It was very team focused. So again, first part of my role in iLearn was to get the team on board. We did focus groups with staff and students. We pulled up together a new strategy, and it wasn't me. It wasn't me that did it. It was the team that did it, and it was done in conjunction with curriculum, and it was done in conjunction. A big part of it was done in conjunction with students. So team involvement in SAR, you all know a self-assessment report. Restructured the department, so I looked at where the resource was needed most. I did structured performance reviews in which I gave each individual member of the team a project that they were responsible for, and it linked directly to our areas for improvement. And I've got to say that was one of the best decisions I made, because people really responded to it. They felt valued because they had something that they could actually run with and achieve. Because remember, we're still going in every day and learners not wanting to be there. So we did the reviews of the budgets and subscriptions and agreements, and anything that wasn't providing return on investment I wouldn't repurchase. So we'd spent a significant amount on content, and content that just sat there on the VLE and nobody went near. So when people were asking me to go and buy Pluralsight, for £8,000 for a group of learners, yet nobody's, you can track how long they've been on it, 10, 20 minutes across the whole year. I'm not doing it. So I really reduced the budgets. And at this point, the attendance was never going to improve unless I added to the EBS registers. Now, the first year I did it, we did it as they were part of the registers, and it impacted on curriculum attendance, but it didn't impact on bursary. So that first year, the learner, if once they cottoned on, they'd still get the bursary if they didn't come. That was how we did it that first year, because we thought it was too much too soon for the learners if we sort of put them on the register straight away, the iLearn sessions, and then it impacted on their bursary. But it is now part of their registered sessions, and if they're off for a session, it does impact on the bursary. And we have seen an increase. We've gone from the 24% to last year coming up at 78%, which still isn't where we want it to be. But for an independent study session, I think it's pretty good from where we started. I rebranded the iLearn centres, and I relaunched It's Learning to staff. So I reminded them of the features that they weren't using on It's Learning. And it was about communication, about staff feeling involved. Any questions so far? Because I know I'm rambling, there's quite a lot to explain. No? Are we okay? So we've got a model in place, as I mentioned. So previously, when I picked up the iLearn, all level 1s, level 2s and level 3s had an hour iLearn each week. We changed that. For level 1s, we're doing a more supported iLearn to get them ready to become independent learners, because we were throwing them in there at level 1 expecting them to be able to work independently for an hour. And that they haven't got those skills yet. They've come from school where that's not an expectation. So basically, this year, or the model for the last 2 years, has been that all level 2 and level 3 have timetabled iLearn on this study programme. And level 3s, most of it's an hour, but level 3s who are doing BTECs, who are doing more assignment-based work and research-based work, will have 3 hours a week. And the impact of that, there were loads. There's been sort of lots of brilliant sort of results from doing that, and some of the things that we've put in place. The first and foremost has got to be learner experience. It's been a much more structured sort of approach to their learning. It's monitored now, and we check it, we audit it at regular points in the year. But we've had really positive learner and staff feedback. We've got an enthused team. My team are renowned for doing iLearn challenges and Christmas parties, and really getting involved across the college, not just sitting in a silo in the iLearn centre in the library feeling a bit sorry for ourselves, but we're out there, people know who we are. We've got more staff engagement, we've got increased attendance. On my last SAR, which was 2 weeks ago, the department itself was graded as 78% outstanding, which I am super proud of the team and all of us for getting that. The income generation, we have been doing a lot of work in the community. We've offered some adult education courses this year. We did a pilot, last year, and we're in the new year now. So we offered adult education courses last year about building digital capabilities of the adult workforce. And as I say, it's part of the study programme. Throughout all this investigation, we've realised, and again, if you don't have a timetable slot, it's going to be difficult for you to maybe contextualise this, but for us, quality iLearn and successful iLearn has to have these 9 elements. It's planned learning. You plan for an iLearn session or an independent learning session as you would plan for any other session. My background is obviously hair and beauty, but I'm also teacher training, and this is one of the key things that I think we've got to get across. You still plan as you would any other lesson, and again, the most important thing is the learners need to know what they're going to get out of that time. Their time is valuable. They want to know what am I going to get? What's the point? And these are the 9 things that we've shared with teams of what we'd expect. So when people are planning on the planners on It's Learning, so the learner sits down in their iLearn session, they can see, by the end of this, I'm going to have done a part of task A to contribute to assignment 1. Yeah? Okay. The VLE. The VLE. Okay, so this is a bit of a difficult topic. Where's Julia? Where's he hiding? Oh, you're there. Okay. So the college has worked with It's Learning for over 8 years, I think, now. And we've had it's fair to say, bumpy road. And I'm going to be very, very honest about how the journey that we've had. When I picked up the department, we had been using itslearning for 8 years, and the content had built up. The content on there was huge. There was so much on there. The other thing that had happened is we were quite pioneers really. We were trying to make the VLE do things that it wasn't actually built to do. So we had a very, very talented VLE coordinator who came up with little shortcuts and set up different hierarchies, which was brilliant, and it absolutely did what we needed it to do. But as time went on, and remember a system, and as Paul said, how quickly technology changes and the systems that we've got, as time went on, 8 years down the line, itslearning were bringing updates through, and we couldn't get them to work on ours because of the fixes that we put in place. And that led to problems with integration. We had issues with reports. We got staff disengagement. I mean, you'll all empathise with staff, won't you? Click, click, it doesn't work. It's not working. IT, it's not working. Something wrong with the system. Do you know? So as soon as that happens a couple of times, you've lost them. It wasn't user friendly because there was so much content on there. It was too click heavy. Learners had to click, 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 find things. Well, with learners today that just need to put the thumbprint on something and they've got what they want. We did get to a point where there was quite a difficult relationship between myself and itslearning. I'd inherited the department, I'd inherited the contract that had been signed with itslearning, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm not getting the service I'm paying for, and I couldn't understand it. There were some quite difficult conversations, wasn't there, Julio? Quite difficult conversations. But this is the position we were in. And because of all of this, we weren't getting the maximum benefit. We weren't getting the performance that we needed from itslearning. And that is exactly how I felt. That, what did they call it? Face slap? But that is exactly how I felt. You can see I got my phone updated this weekend and I had too much time on my hands. That was my kids showing me, Mum, you need to put that on it. Okay, so unfortunately, fortunately, at the same time, we were going through a tender process. The contract was due to finish with itslearning in August 19, and obviously in November we started looking at options. Bear in mind, I'm not best impressed with itslearning at this point, and so we started going through the tender process, and it was working. We have a company called Tenet who we use. We formulated the criteria. Has anybody done a tender process for a VLE? If you do, drop me an email, because coming up with a criteria is really, really difficult. It's really difficult because you're looking at what you need now, but you're trying to think what you might need in the future or what's on the horizon. So yeah, we formulated the criteria. It was a really, really intense process. I was really shocked because I thought, the team will laugh at the back, I thought it'll just be a tick box, get in, do a bit of a presentation and that's it. It was really, really intense. We looked at numerous VLE providers. We selected 3 to bid. Obviously, itslearning was one of them. And then they came in, did a detailed presentation. We asked for an extended trial on each. But what was most important in this, testing with users. So it wasn't about me and my team testing it, because we're technologists, we can adapt, we can learn. We sent it out to the staff that are most confident with technology. We sent it out to the staff that were least confident with technology, and all in all there was a huge from different areas, and then we also shared it with learners as well, and we did a survey and we collated feedback and we got star ratings and things like that, and it was a real, we were scoring them on functionality, level of support afterwards, which I think is huge, and cost. I mean, obviously we're in the times that we need to consider that. And the winner was, it doesn't take a rocket science to work it out because I wouldn't be here, it was itslearning. And they won fair and square, and to be fair, they battled hard, because at that point I wasn't convinced. Okay, but anyway, the story goes on. We got itslearning, and the conversations that happened and the support that happened around that time with Julio, with Danny, with Matt, has been phenomenal. And I'm not just saying that because itslearning are here, it really has. They reassured me, we realised what the problems were, and they reassured me that when I worked with them and we moved our old site. We've got our old site running, but we've got a brand new, out of the box, unpacked, blank itslearning. That's what we got. And we've spent the last few months and well, the last few months really, building the new site up, making sure it goes with the accessibility directive and things like that. So they've been really good in letting me have that flexibility. So I've got my old site, there's been no break in service, and we've basically, September, launched a new site. The winning features of It's Learning, and this is for me, from a teaching, learning and assessment point of view, because remember I'm a teacher and I'm not a technologist, but the app, the ease of use, the communication, the being able to mark through the app, being able to upload through the app, just all of it. Whatever you can do on your desktop, you can do on your tablet, you can do on your app, and so can the learner. The assignment tool, again, you can see them typing, it's real time. You can see them typing and you can put comments on there. The planners were, and I've said this many times to It's Learning, for us were the unique selling point. That was the only thing that none of the others that we looked at had. Now, we could have adapted the others to make it fit, but then we're back at square one with what we did with It's Learning. We needed a product that actually did what we needed it to do. And the planners, literally, the screen that the learner logs on, clicks a course, it opens up, the teacher fills it out, tells them exactly what they're going to do, what the learning outcome's going to be, they click start, and then it takes them through the resources. It's really straightforward. Layout's easy to use. We mentioned Messenger earlier. Integration with Office 365. We're an Office 365 college, and we're trying to promote, again, staff to adopt that. Because it's in It's Learning, it makes it a much more seamless function. And it completely links with what we were saying about having so many different systems that do so many different things, and it's about that, joining them together. Staff and learners don't want to have to come here, there and everywhere. They just want it. We're all used to it, aren't we? I just want it on there. Just want to click it. Learning paths we touched upon before about personalised learning and making sure that we can branch out or send people back to things where we realise they need some more information. And plagiarism. The tool for plagiarism for our HE students is superb. I've got the 5-minute sign. Do you know, I was worried about whether I was going to last the time. Yeah. Okay. Got to tell you about these. Some of these you'll know about. So Nearpod, I'm sure you're all familiar with, as a teaching tool. H5P, Zoom, ClickView, all integrate and sit within It's Learning. This year I've purchased, and about listening to staff feedback, trying to make it easier for staff, I've purchased site licenses for these so that staff have got access to a wide range of tools that are quick and easy to use and that the students can engage with. Because again, one of the things, it's about variety. I think it was on my tree. One of the elements is about variety. And we can't expect staff to have the digital skills needed to create that variety, so we need to give them aids to help them. Project management, it's fundamental. If you're moving to a VLE or if you're thinking of getting a VLE, it's fundamental that the project management is absolutely tight. Because we had everything detailed down to the hour before the learners came in to enrol, because if you don't, you're going to start off on the wrong foot. So the project management was a huge part of it, and that was from both my side and my team's side, but also It's Learning side as well. The support, again, we expect a lot from our staff, but we this year are offering a lot more support, because obviously we've gone to a brand new site, but also it's about getting them on board, and the staff know that we've listened. We recently did a You Said We Here poster, because we've been around, done the focus groups with the staff, and It's Learning and ourselves, we've actioned them and we've sent that back out saying, listen, you said that and we've done this. So we expect people to work together, but also evaluate what they've done. So if they're putting content on for the learners, go back, get involved with it, have a look at it. I've got the dream team, and they're all going to be hiding behind there in a minute, and a lot of them aren't here. I'm very lucky in the fact that the college do support this movement and have got that vision. So I've got the VLE team who look after the VLE. I've got the tutors, which, the majority, I would say the majority now are coming on board, who design the learning, plan the learning, what they're going to learn. I've got the developers that if we can't source content, we can make bespoke content. I've got the coaches who literally, when the learners are timetabled, they support and facilitate and coach. And I've got, this year we've implemented a digital learning designer who actually now, Helen's role is to go in and sit in staff rooms for a couple of days at a time and work with the staff. Just base yourself there. Are you all right with that, John? Or can just to make sure that the quality of the VLE is meeting our expectations, but actually that we're supporting staff and not expecting them to do it. And again, those are the kind of things that they support with. We do team training, individual support. We have professional learning mentors that go around into each curriculum area that have been upskilled with It's Learning. We've got a full calendar of training, and It's Learning have launched this year bite-sized videos, so like 2-minute video on how to upload an assignment, how to set an assignment. And then the outcome, I think, you know, increased attendance, which we have, consistent experience. We've got better use of facilities. And it's packed. It can be packed in there, and it's amazing. When you walk in and there's a buzz of learning, it's amazing. Improved engagement, better staff involvement, and the summary. At this point, I'm going to say it's not perfect. It's not perfect. There's still a long way to go, but I really do feel that we've made a real inroad this year. Takeaway points, the strategy is the key. It's got to be, you know, it's got to be college-led. It's got to be across the board. It's got to come from governors. I mean, I'm a governor, and I have to report on different parts of iLearn. You know, it has to go right across the college. Content is king. You can't stick anything on. It's not a bolt-on anymore. It has to be of value, and it has to be meaningful for a learner. I wouldn't sit for an hour and do something if it meant nothing to me. So we can't expect our learners to. And then the biggest one for me is, instead of beating staff up saying they're not doing it, they're not engaging, it's about building their skills and their confidence. You know, if we've got 53% of the adult workforce that haven't got the digital skills, how many are in our colleges? Because it isn't a requirement when you're applying for a job. Yeah? On that note, one of the things that we're looking at, and it's to build on, we have been using the ETF digital teaching platform. We're looking at building on within our teacher education. There's a qualification called an award in digital learning for educators, and I think that's key. I think it needs to be mandatory as part of teacher training, and I think it is in the level 5. But it's where we're starting. We need to be making this a mandatory part of education and training for teachers as well. And that, if we get all that right, going back to a long time ago in a faraway place, the learners will live happily ever after, and I will. Okay, that's me. Have we got any questions? No? Can you all empathise with the issues? It's not just the staff here that it's been hard. The other thing I'd like to say, and I'm literally going to have to say it, because there is all of this technology and things, but there's an expectation from us that our learners have they're coming in the technology focus, they know it. Some learners can't use Word. Get them on the smartphone, they're absolutely amazing, but they can't use Word. So this year we've put a programme in place, and the first 3 weeks have been teaching them skills that will help them prepare work. So we've done word workshops, we've done presentation workshops, because that isn't their world. This is their world. And unless we're assessing everything through a smartphone or an app, then we need to make sure that they've got those additional skills as well. So please don't make the mistake that I think, maybe I was guilty of when I first started, is if they can use this in a way to use everything else on a computer, because that is so far away, removed from where they are. So that was just a little hint. Okay, sorry, Julia.
Thank you, Becki, for the frank and honest assessment of the last 12 months. It certainly has been a challenge, but I wouldn't be standing here if we weren't where we are. And I thought your presentation was excellent, highlighting the key points, but there's a few things that I would like to focus on. The first of all is, Becki and her team were very clear to us that the solution wasn't meeting their objectives. But what they needed to do was to understand what the user's feedback was. And I thought the staff and learner survey that they did was a very detailed process and very effective. But it was also an effective way for us, for It's Learning, to realize that the users weren't using the platform in the best way. They weren't using it to get the objectives that Hopwood Hall were aspiring to. But equally, from a self-reflection perspective, I think Hopwood Hall realized that they didn't appreciate how to get the best out of the platform themselves. So there were key lessons to be learned there. Julia walked through or showed you the vision of Hopwood Hall, but Becki and her team already had a digital vision, which from the tender I can recount to you because I haven't forgotten it. It was to become leaders in technology and digital learning within the FE, HE and apprenticeship provision, and also to provide a digital learning environment that both innovates and enhances learners, both in classroom activities, i.e. not just independent learning, classroom activities, but also to provide them with the skills within today's work needs. So Becki and her team knew where they wanted to go, but it was the how to get there that we had to address. And it was such an, the transformation in the way that we started working together to meet that objective. That's why we are where we are today. It was imperative to using the staff feedback, and Becki said, you said, we did. It was implementing strong workflows that utilized the way the platform is designed to be used, but as well as achieving the objectives that Becki and her team had, implementing strong workflows and providing the staff with support. And that's what Becki and her team have done. But the most important thing that was necessary was buy-in. It was buy-in from the staff, which the survey achieved to do. But it's an ongoing process. Once you achieve buy-in, you are there. But also, it was so imperative to have management buy-in. If we're just talking to Becki and the management, the other management aren't engaged, it goes nowhere. Management have to be behind a deployment for e-learning implementation to be successful. Through this process, Becki, we were able to demonstrate to Becki that we have a fantastic product, and we are so proud to have competed against competitors which we have high respect for, and we match them point on point. But we were also able to demonstrate to Becki and her team that we had the best offering, that we had unwavering and committed support to get through the hurdles that were against us and to realize exactly today. And it's a starting point. The vision is there. We now have a strategy in place, and we'll have development plans to help us move towards that vision. So it's not going to be transformative results overnight, but slowly we'll get there. And it's that working and closely collaborative engagement. Just a few things that I picked up from discussions in the various conversations. Paul had a slide, and it said digital leadership, digital infrastructure, digital embedded curriculum, and digital capable staff. I think the last 12 months, the way that we work together encompasses all of those. Yeah. It ticks all the boxes. We are providing an environment for staff to find teaching and learning rewarding, to enable learners to have a structured and engaging way to get the best out of that learning experience. You can present the same content in different ways and get different results. Our platform facilitates engaging that material in a very engaging way, especially the way that Becki and her team have facilitated having content to associate with the platform. We're also are very proud to be part of the new T-level requirements. We are part of the AOC-sponsored TRIP program, which is designed to how do you upskill staff, which has been a key point of this. Staff need to be skilled to deliver it properly. So we are very proud to be part of this program, and we'll be working not only to assist Hopwood Hall in being part of their program, in providing them with videos that were part of the gap analysis that they performed, but more importantly to develop clear workflows within our platform to facilitate T-levels. And so the future's bright. We have so much to offer, And we welcome any of you to engage with us to understand more how we can support you in the way that we've supported Hopwood Hall.